Hi, my name is Bettina Weil. I am the founder of Weil College Advising. We are a boutique firm. We're based in Westchester, New York, and in New York City. We work with students, with high school students, helping them define and work on their academic path going to college. And we help them and coach them through the college application process. We work with students from all over the United States and all over the world on this process, and it's really fascinating and a wonderful experience for us to be able to coach our families when they go to college and help them make informed decisions. We are a little bit about myself. I have been coaching students since 2007. I am a social worker by training. I have done research on college access for Columbia University. I have then worked in the nonprofit world for about 8 years as a director of college programs in a nonprofit organization. And I then worked with SUNY, State University of New York, in college transition and persistence. And then, of course, I have my private practice and work with hundreds of students in their transition to college. So without further ado, I'm going to start the topic for today, which is college applications in the time of COVID-19. We are in April now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of talk from colleges, from independent counselors, from school counselors, to discuss what's going on, what's going to happen the next semester, what are we doing with your juniors and seniors and even sophomores. So I would like to bring that information to you today. I have had so many webinars and talks with colleges in the last few weeks, and I'm happy to share that with you today. So I'm going to share the screen right now because I have a little presentation, and let me get back to the technical part here. This is not. Okay, bear with me for a second, sorry. Okay, so here we go. College applications at the time of COVID-19. I'm going to jump right into testing because that's the hot topic at this time. And everybody is asking, what do I do with my tests? Colleges are going test optional. The ACTs, SATs have moved their dates, have canceled dates. So what do we do? So here I'm going to clarify that topic for you. So we have more than before 3 clear options here. One is going to ACT, the other one SAT, and the other one more than before test optional. There's more and more colleges that are going that route. Many colleges have thought about it in the past. I have not done it, but this is a good opportunity for them to try it and to get a little bit their feet wet in how it feels to have an application round with no test scores. And we're going to see a little bit what that means to you as an applicant and to you as a parent of an applicant, and what are the pros and cons. So the SAT, we have the date starting end of August. We have a date every month. September, usually there was no date for SAT, but this year, yes, they set a date, but it ended up being one of the nights of Rosh Hashanah, so that's not going to happen. They're working now on changing that date, but there are dates every month starting in the fall. Registration starts in May, so please kind of mark your calendars on May 1st to be attentive to that. There's priority for those who registered in for June and for juniors who did not test. So those kids register for June. June was canceled. So those have priority, and also those who did not test yet. There is an increased center capacity. The College Board is now talking to all the test centers to see if they can facilitate, if they can have more students taking the test. they're looking into online versions like everybody else, because really there's, they want to have a good plan B. This was in the works, both for SAT and ACT. However, now they're trying to speed up the process. They had the version of doing it online, but in test centers. Now they are trying to see if this can be done from home. And so this is a new thing, and we'll hear more about that in the next few months. Now let's go to the ACT. In the ACT, the June date is still on. Actually, they added, not officially yet, but that's what I heard, that they're going to add end of June and July as also dates for the calendar of the ACT. There will be flexibility in scheduling. You can change the dates of the test without any fees. And the ACT will launch an online at-home exam in the US by late fall or early winter. And this is something that, as I said, it has been a conversation, but never thought about to do it at home. And this is how they're trying to, compensate for this time that is happening and really have a good plan for that. And this will be supposedly provided in addition to in-person testing. And the testing for the fall will be starting in July. SAT or ACT, and this is a question that right now in April, this is usually when the students start thinking which one is going to be my option and what is better for me and which one I'm going to be better at. As we know, the content of the tests are very similar right now. I mean, not very similar. I mean, like the ACT has science and the others not, etc. But it's usually more alike than it used to be. And now we're more like into the what type of test suits the student better, and what kind of timing and what kind of questions are better for the students. So I have a guide that gives both, explains both types of tests, and really kind of hones into the differences. So I'm happy to provide that for those who would like to have it. The role of the test scores, I like to give a little bit of a context here to explain what does this exactly mean in the context of an application, and why do colleges ask for test scores? One of the main reasons is that it validates the grades. This is a standardized measure. No matter what the school, no matter what the country, all the students will take the same test. And that is really having a standardized measure is very helpful sometimes, because it validates. For example, if a school has grade inflation and the student is getting 90s and 95 and everything, and then the test scores are really not showing that, well, that gives a little bit of an idea. However, that has its flaws, as we're going to see in a minute. It is not an indicator of success in college. A student that, for example, does very well in 3 hours of his time in a standardized test and gets a wonderful score, and then the colleges see that in their grades and in the rigor of the classes that the student is taking, he's not performing well. So that says something. That says that the student has a lot of potential, but is not using it in the day-to-day. The marathon of the 4 years, he's really not really using his potential. It is a reflection of the ability to prepare, and this is really very much linked to the ability to have coaching and to have tutors and to have a program. So this is, as you see, as a very controversial topic in college admissions, is the testing. Obviously, the students that have the means and can pay for a tutor are gonna benefit, and the ones who do not are, not. So this is a topic that it has pros and cons, and colleges know this, and they're very much aware of this. So let's go to test optional policies, because there's so many colleges day by day. There's more and more and more that are becoming test optional, and we want to see what this means and the nuances in test optional policies, because there are nuances, and I think you should know that before you make you go that route or you make any decision. The policies, there's one test optional policy that has existed for a while, that is called, that in which the tests are not required but are considered. The universities that have this is, for example, and there's many, Chicago, Wake Forest, Indiana University, etc. They say, what, you want to send me the scores? Great, we will look at them. If you don't want to, that's your right. I just want to caution everybody that the vast majority of the students do submit the scores. So if you don't, I'm not saying that you are going to be at a disadvantage, but you may, because most of the students do. Conditional test optional. This means that if a student has a certain GPA, for example, they say, okay, you have a 3.3 GPA, so then you are not required to send test scores. There are some colleges that have that policy, and it's called the conditional test score. It's conditional. It's like, if you have this, then you don't have to send them. Test flexible, and you can, in this policy, you can submit IB scores, AP scores, certain amount of AP scores, etc. And the typical, the colleges that have been practicing this even prior to COVID is Brandeis and Drexel and NYU. So you can submit those and in lieu of test scores. And then there's test blind, which means that the college is saying, I'm not even going to look at the test scores. We don't believe in test scores. We are not even going to consider them. Hampshire College is one of them, and there's a few, not that many, that are test blind. Exceptions to the rule, and this is important to know because your student might fall into one of these categories, so maybe test optional is not even an option. One of them is scholarships. So there's many scholarships at different colleges that say you are going to, if you want a scholarship, you need to submit the SAT, ACT, and that is something that you can find out in the admissions page in your college. And I suggest that everybody does that if they need a merit scholarship, that they look into that. Honors program. There's several honors programs that require, at different schools, that require standardized tests. Highly selective majors, for example, an engineering or a computer science, those may require tests, even though the institution might be test optional, the major might not be test optional, and that's something for you to look into. Homeschool students, of course, they need a standardized measure to evaluate a homeschool applicant. International applicants, of course, they need to submit the scores. And athletes, that's a rule. The D1 and D2 athletes, they do need test scores. Who benefits from test optional policies? Well, as we said, the underrepresented minorities, the people, the low-income students definitely will benefit from a test optional policy. Students with low scores, of course, the not good test takers will benefit from that policy. And we also want to see what the impact of a test optional policy would be. And one of the things, and this is very interesting, what we're going to start seeing in these next few years is that when these colleges say we don't need tests, the applications will increase. For example, if I am a student who has very good scores and very good grades and a very good GPA and great profile and a good resume and great activities, but not good test scores, well, suddenly I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to apply to that Ivy League school. Sure, why not? So that is going to increase the number of applications. to those colleges. And as a result, the selectivity of the school will increase too, right? They have the same number of spots for more applications, so those are going to be more competitive. The average scores will go up because the low scores will not present scores. The students with low scores will just not send them, and only the higher scores are going to be sent, so that the average will go up. The US news rank will increase. I want to caution, and that's why I put the asterisk there. I want to caution that I don't think that US news rank is a good way to pick up college. I don't believe, my personal belief is that I don't think that that is a good measure to select your list. I think that the criteria should be very personal. A student should go to a school that is academically a good fit, where he's going to be challenged appropriately. I want a student to be happy socially, and I want a student to go to a college that they can afford. So all these considerations are more important to me than a rank. I really, but you know, it definitely, I put it out there because some people look at that. So the ranks, we're going to see that those schools become suddenly more competitive. Should I submit my test or not? So what should we do? So if you don't submit your test, the colleges will assume that you have low scores, and that's kind of what it is. I suggest comparing your scores to the average of the college. It's public information in every college what their range is. We accept, you know, ACTs between 24 and 30, right? That kind of information is available online. So I encourage everybody to find the measure, the mean, or the average. Let's say if the average is 26 ACT, if you have a 26 or a 27 or above, I would definitely present. If it's below the average, I would not present. That's my suggestion to my students, and that's what I just common sense, what I put out there. AP tests. AP tests, as you know, have been there are going to be 2 dates in May. These are going to be released on May 1st. Please be aware and register with your school counselor is going to be handling that. There's going to be a truncated version of 45 minutes online from home. The students can have notes, and my students are saying, oh, this is great, Bettina, so now I'm going to have my notes. And I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that the test is going to be easier. Because you better take appropriate notes and have good notes, because otherwise it's not going to be so easy. So as we know, open book tests are not necessarily a walk in the park. They might be, but they might not be. So just it's going to be a different style this year. So we're all trying this new way of taking tests. The scores, I don't think, personally, I don't think, from what I've been discussing with college, I doubt that this will be a deciding factor. I think it's going to be more as a, if you do well, it's going to be a plus. If you don't do well, I don't think it's going to make it or break it, honestly. That's my professional opinion. There's a little bit like the SAT2s. It's a feather in your hat. It's something to show, to show proficiency, look how well I did. But if you don't send them or they're not great or something, I don't think it's going to make such a difference if they don't see that or it's not great. Particularly this year, that they understand that it's a new format, and the colleges are very aware of that, and they're going to be a little more flexible that way. So now we got to really like the essence of the topic here, which is how are colleges going to review our kids' applications this year? This is going to be very different. And how different? And what do we know now? application to the United States colleges is holistic. This is not like other countries in Europe where it's very test-based. The applications here are holistic. We look at different aspects of the applicant. And so far as we know, the main aspects were always the transcript, what kind of classes the student is taking, what kind of rigor is a student trying to do better, to challenge himself or not, what are the grades, etc. But the other variables as well, the test scores, the activities, the essays, etc. So all these components had their nuances and their weight in the application. Now this year, we're going to see a shift in that. So there's going to be nuances, but they're going to be slightly different nuances. So this is what I have been gathering from my conversations. The new holistic review is still going to be holistic, obviously, but of course the academic record are going to be very important, and the rigor, as we said. But we're going to have a whole semester of no activities, no extracurriculars, no opportunities to show that I'm the captain or I'm the this or that or what I did. So that's going to be a little bit missing. Well, the interviews, not every school interviews, but in my opinion, the essays are going to have a very important role in this application season. They're going to be looking very deeply into what the student is like, what they're showing, what they're telling, and not only the main essay, also the supplements. The supplements are very important. I put a lot of work with my students in the essays. I tell them that be prepared to do 10, 15 reviews, drafts, etc. This is really what's going to make a difference in your application. There's many people that are going to have your test scores, they're going to have your grades, they're going to have your statistics, they're going to have your activities even, but you are going to shine and you're going to show your true self and your inner self through the essay. And that's why what we're looking for. The letters of recommendation, in my view, are going to have a lot of weight this year as well. The letters are going to tell the colleges how the student behaves in terms of how is he working in class? How is he working in a team? Is he engaged? Is he asking questions? Is he participating? Even in online classes during this time. So just be aware of that. This is going to be a time when those things are going to have a very interesting impact on the applications. Dates and deadlines. So this has changed also. So the discussion about, there's a discussion about moving the deadlines for early action, early decision, etc., a little bit later in the fall. Nothing has been officially declared yet, but there's been conversations about delaying particularly the November 1st date so that the students can have more time to test. Because the deadline of November 1st allows for only 1 or 2 tests, not much. So they really want to give that advantage to the students to test again and maybe, perhaps, move the deadlines. But again, this is not official. Seniors, May 1st will be a little more flexible for some institutions. They are 335 colleges until like last night, which was April 20. Have declared that they have extended their deadline for June 1st. And some more will follow suit. The colleges are right now really looking into how they're going to fill that class, how they're going to have enough students for the class. So they might very well extend that, and we're going to see that happening in the next few days. I want to I want to also mention that seniors, if you're not ready to make that decision and you need more time, I would say reach out to your institutions. They might show some flexibility. I'm not promising anything, but it's worth asking. The fall semester most likely will be online. I'm sorry to say. There's nothing official yet. We're not sure, but these are the conversations that are happening, and the colleges are preparing for that scenario. Some colleges are talking about a January start. Boston University already said that for sure they will start in January. They don't want to deal with online classes, and they might even go through the next summer. So a little bit of a different schedule next year. So those are the changes in terms of dates. Okay, what's happening in the summer? The summer is going to be quite different this year. So let's see what we know so far. On-campus activities, courses on campus, camps, academic and sports camps, those are not happening. And for the seniors, the campus orientation is going to be virtual, and colleges are already planning for that. I had all the colleges that I've been talking to in the last 2 weeks are moving on that direction already. Speaking about summer plans, I am putting together for my students alternatives for stay-at-home activities that they can do that can also be stimulated, that can be interesting. At least have that as a plan, just in case. I encourage everybody to look into that in case those are needed. What I've been doing in these past few weeks, honestly, since this situation started, is really focus a little bit on what we can do with the students, because believe it or not, there is a lot that we can do. And I encourage my students not to take the perspective of, oh, I can't do this, I'm limited in this, I'm limited in that, yeah, this happenings, but a position of strength and seeing what can be done and how can I use this time and this crisis to my benefit in a way. So one of the things that we are doing is researching colleges. And this is a big topic. It's not just like looking into the website, etc. This has a prior step. This has a step of, how do I research a college? How do I ask the right questions? How do I read between the lines on a college website? How can I find people that are gonna talk to me about how it is campus life, how it is as a student. So I'm working really hard with my students and providing them tools that they can use online. And there are those tools, those exist, to really look into these things and ask the right questions about colleges, and seeing, what is out there, what are the options, what are the different things, and what they like and what they don't like, and how those colleges relate to who they are. I put myself there an F to remember to mention that I also look, and this is more myself for my students, I'm looking at the financial health of the colleges. And this is something that, I was doing before COVID, but now more so. I want to send my students to a college that is going to hopefully be open in the next 4 years, and that is going to have sufficiently health financially to be able to continue functioning. Tied to the research for colleges, I work with my students on their criteria for college. What is important to you? What are your values? What do you want for the next 4 years? What are the different, not only the different options, which one of those connect with who you are? And really finding that that criteria. Where do you want to go? Close to home, far from home, small or big, and what does it mean, one and the other? What are the, I want really something that will, be meaningful to them and find that. And my juniors, I have to say, all already have a criteria for college. They already know what they want and are able to establish those comparisons. So having a criteria is very important to making your list, your college list. What is an urban school? What are the advantages and disadvantages? What is a student life like in a college that is urban or that is suburban, or etc. So that is very important. We talk about majors and careers. I have been doing some seminars for my students, for 11th graders, even 10th graders, on majors and careers. At this stage, I do not want a junior or even a sophomore, or even as a senior, to really be too specific on their major or on their career, because I don't think it's realistic. But I do think it's realistic to expect that the student would like to have more or less of an idea what they would like, what kind of academic path is for them. And that is, we do assessments, we talk about it a lot. It's not to box them, it's more for them to know what is ahead. I think it's very important to have a sense of purpose, to have a goal when they start college, to know what is the academic path and where that leads to, in terms of jobs, in terms of what they want to do in the future. Do they, is making a lot of money important to them? Is helping people important to them? Is research important to them? Those are things that at this age, they are able to answer, and or start answering. At least they know what they don't want, and that is already a start. So we work on that at this time. This is perfect timing for that. Really looking inside and answering those questions. And from the point of view of an application to college, that is important as well, because that means a student kind of did a little bit of the homework, thought a little bit about it. It's very easy to say, oh, I'm undecided. I'm not saying that it's not okay to be undecided. I'm just saying that not everybody has to apply undecided. And that could be part of the application, to explain to the colleges, I am interested in being an engineer, and because of this, and because I like this, and because I have that background, because I think that adds information to a college, which doesn't mean that that it's written in stone and they absolutely have to do that. But I think it's an interesting exercise to get to know themselves. Connect virtually with colleges and current students, and that's something that I'm doing a lot with my students, and not only asking them to do it, but teaching them how to do it. How do you write an email? How do you interact with colleges? What is the right time? How do you talk to a student? What kind of questions you ask for a student? This is a little bit how I train when my students visited colleges, because visiting a college, as you know, is, if you don't know how to read between the lines, is very much, it's beautiful. The buildings are always nice. It's really pretty, and the information sessions are great, and everything's, very nice, but how do I really evaluate a college? And that's the work that I'm doing now with my juniors. As they cannot visit the colleges, I'm doing them for their virtual visits. And how what are the questions they're going to ask to the students? For example, what do you do on weekends? And what kind of clubs are you involved in? And what is the social life like? Is it a politically charged campus or not? What is the conversation that the students are having? What kind of student would do well? What would you change about this college? That's a very powerful question. So all these things are, I am really kind of working on with my students, for them to have a little bit of a critical view and a critical mind when they look at colleges. Essays. I am working with essays now already. I'm doing their common application essays. I am, my students, my juniors are on draft 1 or 2 of the essay. As I said before, my essays are really, we work very hard on that. I don't limit the amount of drafts I really want the best that they can do. My students take it very seriously. They write it, I comment, they continue writing. It's really a process, and I have my tools and my exercises that I do with them, and they love this process because it's really very introspective, and it's really fascinating, the things that they learn about themselves through this process. So it's really interesting. Demonstrated interest, that is something that we also do now from home. This is something that is not taken into consideration in every college, but in some, yes. So I guide them that way, and how to do it and when to do it. Time management, I love this one because this is the perfect time. I tell my juniors, look, college is the most unstructured environment ever. You're going to have a class at 8 a.m., another at 4 p.m. And in between, you're going to think that you have all this free time. Well, you don't, because you are supposed to do independent work. And this is new to them. They're like, wait a minute, what does that mean? I go to school from 8 to 3, and, my schedule is set and I'm so regimented. I'm like, well, that's going to disappear when you go to college, because you can have a lot of free time, and you better use it wisely because it's in your best interest. And this is really the best time to practice that because their life is so unstructured right now. So I give them the tools to really organize their time, to see how they can use their time wisely, how they can put everything in the schedule. They're not only the work stuff, but their hobbies and their social media time, etc. Be accountable for your time, not to Bettina, not to mom or dad, to yourself, to your goals, to what you want to do, to what is important to you. And of course, the things that you have to do, the things that, the chores in the house, or the whatever, or the, schoolwork that you have to do. So we work a lot on time management. My students now have schedules that they made for themselves. So it's really interesting. And I have feedback on this, and we talk about it. So that's great. This is the last but not least, be creative with your time. And this is something that I really introduced now with COVID. I want my students to use their imagination on how they're going to use their time during the COVID, for two reasons. One, for them, think of the things that you always wanted to do and just go for it. And I have students who have incredible ideas, and I have been sharing these ideas, with other students. Of course, they don't know each other, but just the ideas, and they're like, oh my God, I love this. I also want to do that. And there's some that are teaching themselves things, or doing things in the garden, or taking classes online. I mean, really interesting things, and crafts, and some are helping their communities. It's really fascinating, and I'm a little bit behind the scenes. They're coaching them a little bit on how to go about it, but I think it's really very. This is an opportunity. Let's take it as that, as such, really, because it can be very valuable. And in terms of college applications, what better to tell a college consultant or a college, this is what I did with my free time during COVID, and have a good story to tell. That's also a really powerful piece of an application. So let's take that into consideration. And now I'm going to kind of close this presentation with an idea a little bit of what is really going on in the minds of colleges, and what is happening on that end. Colleges want your students. They need your students. They need to continue functioning. They need to continue having academic, environment. They need to continue what they're doing. They are, college admissions people are human beings that understand that also are living through this crisis, and they're going to have the flexibility that they need to have. They're going to look at your application with different eyes than other years, and they won't penalize for special circumstances. If your student has gone through some difficulties this year because of COVID, that definitely can be explained, and I would definitely encourage you to explain if that is the case. But I will also say that they will recognize the efforts. They will recognize the people who went the extra mile, who did something special, who try to use this time in a positive way for them and for their communities. So just keep that in mind. This is not downtime. Yes, many of us have a lot of issues and things, financial or, you know, in terms of loved ones that have gone, that got sick or etc. But the ones who can do something positive, it will be recognized. I think I really do think so. I am going to open this now for questions from everybody, and I thank you so much. I really love to talk about this topic. We will talk about other topics related to COVID and to college applications in general. I am here for any questions. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear your questions. Please reach out if you have any personal or general questions. We all welcome your input. So I am going to unshare the screen now and say good evening to everybody, and I hope to hear from you soon. Stay tuned, follow us on Facebook, look at our website for a lot of blogs and things on what's going on, and stay in touch. Bye-bye.